For many years, observing people and their behavior, I have come to an important realization. Intelligence is not just about the amount of knowledge you have, it is a way of life. It is about how a person interacts with others, how open they are to new ideas, and whether they can admit their own mistakes. But here's what's interesting. There are 6 clear signs that reveal a lack of wisdom. These traits prevent a person from growing, complicate their relationships with others, and most importantly, block their path to self-improvement. However, before you dismiss this list with skepticism, let me explain why it truly matters. Identifying these signs is not about judging others. It is about self-reflection, personal growth, and making conscious choices. Moreover, recognizing these mistakes doesn't just help us. It also helps those who don't even realize they are trapped in their own cycle of ignorance. So, stay with me, and together we will break down the 6 undeniable signs of a foolish person. Each one carries a valuable lesson, a story, and a chance to see ourselves from a new perspective. And if topics like this resonate with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There's much more insightful content ahead. Are you ready? Then, let's begin. Sign No. 1, a closed mind. A closed mind is a strong fortress built from fear, pride, and stubbornness. People with this mindset don't just reject new ideas, they actively resist any changes, even when those changes are clearly for the better. They live by rigid rules, where everything must align with their familiar ways. Any new information, any change, is not seen as an opportunity, but as a threat. And here's the most interesting part. Such people may appear confident, but in reality, their confidence is just a mask. Because true strength lies in recognizing your own limitations and striving for knowledge. Think of Robert, a department manager at a company. He was convinced that traditional methods were the only correct way, despite clear evidence proving otherwise. When a young specialist suggested implementing a new project management system to improve efficiency, Robert immediately dismissed the idea. "We've been doing it this way for 10 years and it's worked just fine." What happened next? While other departments embraced new technology and improved their processes, Robert's team continued to struggle. Their performance declined, and instead of acknowledging the real issue, Robert started looking for someone to blame: his employees, the market, external circumstances, but never himself. A closed mind is not just a barrier to new knowledge, it prevents growth, not only for the individual, but for everyone around them. In contrast, wise people understand that they can never know everything, and they remain open to learning at all times. Stoic philosophy reminds us, wisdom is not about always being right, it is about being willing to change, adapt, and grow. If you notice yourself rejecting new ideas, try asking yourself a simple question. What if I'm wrong? Be brave enough to say, "I am ready to learn." Only when we break down the walls of stubbornness do we open the path to true wisdom. Sign number 2, the endless search for someone to blame. Foolish people are masters of excuses. They always find a reason why something went wrong, but never consider that the problem might lie within themselves. If a project fails, the market is to blame, not their decisions. If they don't get a promotion, the boss is biased, not their own mistakes. If a relationship falls apart, their partner is at fault, never their own behavior. But let's look at the truth. Excuses act as a shield, protecting a person from facing reality. But at the same time, that same shield becomes a prison, trapping them and preventing them from moving forward. Take Laura, an event organizer. She was responsible for a major conference, but due to low attendance, the event failed. Instead of analyzing what went wrong, Laura immediately pointed fingers at the marketing team, claiming they didn't promote the event properly. But here's the problem. When the situation was investigated, it turned out that Laura herself had failed to send the promotional materials on time. delaying the entire campaign. Even when confronted with facts, she refused to accept her role in the failure. Her colleagues lost trust in her, and in the end, Laura was forced to leave her job. Responsibility may feel heavy, but it is the gateway to growth. Wise people do not fear admitting their mistakes, not because they enjoy criticism, but because they understand that truth creates opportunities for improvement. Stoic philosophy teaches us taking control of your life begins with accepting responsibility. The next time you feel the urge to blame someone else, try stopping for a moment and ask yourself two questions. Did I truly do everything I could? What could I have done differently? Excuses won't change the past, but taking responsibility will change you. If you want to grow, stop looking for someone to blame and start looking for ways to improve. Sign number 3, arrogance over humility. Arrogance is one of the most common traits of foolish people. They are convinced that they already know everything and that there is nothing left for them to learn. Such individuals do not listen to others. They interrupt conversations, and they always try to be the smartest person in the room. But here's the paradox. The more a person tries to prove their intellectual superiority, the more often they end up looking foolish. Wisdom is not about always being right, but about recognizing your mistakes, listening to others, and being willing to learn. Let's look at an example. Daniel, a manager at a large company, believed he was the only competent professional in his department. During meetings, he constantly interrupted his colleagues, refused to let them express their opinions, and pressured those around him, insisting that his methods were the only correct ones. When his department faced serious problems, he didn't try to analyze what went wrong. Instead, he blamed his subordinates, claiming that they simply could not grasp his brilliant ideas. However, when upper management requested a report on his performance, Daniel was unable to explain why his strategy had failed to produce the expected results. He had been so consumed by his own sense of superiority that he failed to see his own obvious mistakes. As a result, the company lost several major clients, and Daniel lost his position. Arrogance is not a sign of strength, but a sign of weakness. It prevents a person from learning, growing, and building healthy relationships with others. In contrast, humility is not a weakness, but a reflection of true self-confidence. Stoic philosophy reminds us, wisdom comes to those who are willing to embrace new perspectives. A foolish person seeks to prove their superiority, but a wise person seeks to improve themselves. If you notice arrogance creeping into your thoughts, ask yourself a simple question. Do I want to be respected? Or do I just want to prove that I'm right? A truly intelligent person does not try to appear smart. They simply continue learning, even when others believe they already know everything. Sign number 4, lack of empathy. A lack of empathy is one of the clearest signs of foolishness. It is the inability to understand another person's feelings, to put yourself in their place, and to recognize their struggles. People who lack empathy often act selfishly, without even realizing the pain they cause others. A foolish person does not consider how their words or actions might hurt someone. They see the world only from their own perspective and believe that if something does not affect them directly, then it does not matter. This mindset damages relationships, pushes friends and colleagues away, and most importantly, makes a person shallow and disconnected from reality. Let's look at an example. Robert, an employee at a large company, constantly complained about work delays. One day, his colleague Sarah missed a project deadline because her mother was hospitalized. Instead of showing understanding, Robert harshly criticized her in front of the entire team, accusing her of being irresponsible. He did not try to understand the situation. He only cared about the final result. A year later, Robert found himself in a similar position. His father became seriously ill, and he had to take time off. That was when he realized how unfairly he had treated others. Only after experiencing the same struggle did he understand that a lack of empathy is not a strength, but a weakness that drives people away. Stoic philosophy teaches us that wisdom is not just about knowledge, but about the ability to form deep connections with others. People who lack empathy not only make life harder for those around them, but they also make their own lives emptier. Empathy is not a weakness. It is a tool that helps us better understand the world. If you feel that you sometimes struggle to show compassion, start with something simple. Listen to others not just to reply, but to understand. The more you take the time to truly connect with the emotions of those around you, the deeper your understanding of life will become. Sign number 5, fear of change. The world is constantly changing, but a foolish person clings to the old ways, even when they no longer work. They fear stepping out of their comfort zone. They fear trying something new. They fear change itself. They hold on to familiar things, even when those things are pulling them down. Fear of change is not just a reluctance to adapt. It is a conscious resistance to reality. People who fear change miss out on opportunities, stay in unfulfilling relationships, endure unsatisfying jobs, and ultimately deny themselves the chance for a better life. Let's look at an example. Henry lived in the same neighborhood his entire life. He knew every neighbor, went to the same stores, and his routine never changed. When his children suggested moving to a new city with more opportunities, he flatly refused. "I've been here all my life. I'm not going anywhere." But time passed. The neighborhood changed. Old friends moved away. Stores closed down. Henry continued to live by the old rules, even though the world around him had already moved on. In the end, he found himself isolated, feeling lonely and full of regret. He realized that his fear of change hadn't protected him. It had only made his life worse. Change is a natural part of life, and Stoic philosophy teaches us that wisdom is the ability to adapt. The only way to grow is to move forward, even when it feels uncomfortable. If you notice yourself fearing change, ask yourself 2 simple questions. What's the worst that could happen if I try? And what's the best that could happen? Most fears exist only in our imagination. The world does not stand still, and if you don't move forward, you will inevitably be left behind. Sign number 6, talking more than listening. One of the most common signs of foolishness is the inability to listen. Such people talk a lot, but rarely think about what is being said in return. They interrupt others, impose their opinions, and in the end, gain no new knowledge. True listening is an active process. It is not just waiting for your turn to speak, but truly absorbing what the other person is saying, trying to understand their perspective, and learning from it. Let's look at an example. Jeff, a father of 2, dominated every dinner conversation with stories about his day. When his children tried to talk about their problems, he would interrupt them, immediately giving advice without even hearing them out. When his wife suggested changes to the family budget, he dismissed her ideas right away, convinced that he knew best. Years passed, and his children stopped sharing their thoughts with him. They knew he wouldn't listen. His wife also stopped discussing important matters. Jeff didn't realize that his inability to listen had slowly destroyed his connection with his family. Stoic philosophy teaches that wisdom is born in silence. A person who truly listens will always learn, grow, and build strong relationships. But someone who never stops talking remains trapped in their own delusions. If you often find yourself interrupting others or failing to let them express themselves, ask yourself this simple question: am I listening to understand or just waiting for my turn to speak? Wise people know that true intelligence is not shown in words, but in the ability to listen, understand, and learn from others. Now, we have explored the 6 main signs of a foolish person, but here's the truth. Every one of us has exhibited these traits at some point in life. Maybe you have resisted change, maybe you have blamed others for your failures, or maybe you have talked more than you listened. But the most important thing is not to avoid these mistakes, but to recognize them and work on yourself. Stoic philosophy reminds us that wisdom is not about striving for perfection, but about being willing to learn, to change, and to grow. Instead of dwelling on your flaws, use them as an opportunity to become better. Open yourself to new opportunities. Take responsibility for your mistakes. Learn to listen and to understand. Stop fearing change. This journey is not for those who think they are perfect. It is for those who can say, I can become better. Foolishness is temporary, but wisdom is a lifelong path. If you found this video helpful, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so we can continue exploring valuable life lessons together. Thank you for watching.